one of the most appreciated left backs in the game. We are talking about left backs, and on left backs I wanted to mention something on Man United, because over the last 2-3 days Manchester United kept the contacts alive and active with those close to Lewis Hall, the left back from Newcastle. Manchester United already made contact a few weeks ago. Manchester United have genuine interest in the player. They really like Lewis Hall, so he's one of the targets. Of course, we know Manchester United are going to be busy with midfielders. That area of the pitch for Man United remains a priority because Ederson is coming, Ederson is done. But then after Ederson, one more midfielder, at least, it could be two, we will see. But one more midfielder will join Manchester United, and then left back remains a position they want to cover. Lewis Hall is a player they really love at Manchester United. Then this depends on Newcastle, because Newcastle's stance is that they already sold Anthony Gordon, and the expectation is for Sandro Tonali to go this summer. So to sell also Lewis Hall could be too much. So it's not going to be easy. Newcastle will not make it easy to sell Lewis Hall. It would take important money, an important transfer fee, and then we know when Newcastle's stance is we don't want to sell the player, it could be complicated. It could take some time. We saw what happened also last summer with Alexander Isak. So for sure a situation to follow, the one on Lewis Hall with strong interest from Manchester United, but still nothing guaranteed or easy on this one. Many of you asking me, could it be a possibility to see Man United signing both Sandro Tonali and...
Where we're going to slice right through the emotional noise of the latest Lewis Hall transfer rumors to find the objective truth. If you've been anywhere near football media lately, you've seen the headlines, and you've definitely noticed they are completely contradicting each other. Today, we're cutting through all that to break down exactly what's happening behind the scenes. We'll look at the data, the financial realities, and the systemic rules that are actually driving this entire story.
Let's dive right into this massive contradiction between the national media's explosive claims and the fierce local pushback from Newcastle's independent press. It's a fascinating situation, honestly, because we're seeing two wildly different narratives being pushed to the public. On one hand, major national outlets are claiming a massive fallout. On the other, local reporters are absolutely furious, calling the rumors completely fabricated clickbait. Now, we aren't here to take sides, we're just here to analyze why these narratives exist and what the underlying facts actually tell us.
To get to the bottom of this, here is our agenda for today's 360-degree evaluation. We'll look at media speculation versus reality, tactical fit, financial pressures, the homegrown premium, and finally, a scout's long-term view.
Starting off with Section 1, Media Speculation versus Reality, the Narrative War.
The emotional tug-of-war happening right now is just intense. On one side of the ring, national papers are claiming this 21-year-old has fallen out with Eddie Howe and is practically desperate to pack his bags for Manchester. But locally, it's an entirely different picture. Local reporters are quick to note that Hall is a well-known, lifelong Newcastle supporter. According to their sources, he is completely settled, currently on a modest wage of around £40,000 a week, and is simply waiting on a significant new contract offer. An offer Newcastle is prepping specifically to tie him down and silence this transfer talk for good.
And the war of words gets even spicier. National media is suggesting Newcastle's quote-unquote slapdash spending has forced them into a corner where they simply have to sell players like Hall. Well, local independent outlets fiercely ridiculed this claim. They fired right back by pointing directly at Manchester United's own historic transfer missteps. Just to highlight the irony, they pointed out that United recently lost Jadon Sancho on a free transfer, a guy they spent over £138 million on in combined fees and wages, all for just 41 Premier League starts. It's a fiery debate for sure, but it really highlights that financial pressure is a narrative weapon being actively used by both sides here.
Moving on to Section 2. Tactical fit, modern defense, and United's urgent gap.
The absolutely crucial point here is the age and injury history of Luke Shaw. Manchester United has a massive, immediate gap on the left side of their defense. Shaw is 30 years old now, and look, while he is phenomenal when fit, his injury history is undeniable. Over a decade at the club, he's played roughly 50% of the games. You simply cannot build a long-term, multi-competition defensive strategy around a player who might only give you half a season. When Shaw is out, United suffers from this heavy right foot bias in their backline, often forcing right-footed players to awkwardly fill the void on the left. They need a permanent, high-level solution right now.
Enter Lewis Hall. He fits the modern defensive brief perfectly. He's a 21-year-old Chelsea Academy graduate with proven Premier League ability. Crucially, he's naturally left-footed, which provides immediate balance to that right-heavy defense we just talked about. But it's his versatility that makes him truly elite. He can play as a conventional fullback, he can push high and wide like a wingback to offer an attacking threat, or, and this is key, he can seamlessly invert into the midfield to assist in the build-up phase under pressure. Add in his high pressing intensity and defensive work rate, and you've got exactly the type of young, moldable, high-upside player that perfectly aligns with modern recruitment philosophies.
All right, Section 3, Financial Pressures and Needs, the Boardroom Battle.
The opposing forces here are really fascinating. It's the classic unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. Manchester United has an urgent tactical need for a left-footed fullback, and they're actively seeking young, long-term investments. Newcastle, on the flip side, has zero desire to sell a lifelong fan who also happens to be a rising star. They want to give him a new contract and end the conversation. However, Newcastle is facing very real pressure from profitability and sustainability rules, or PSR. They have to balance the books. As much as they want to keep him, in today's financial climate, if a massive bid arrives, somewhere in that 65 to 70 million pound range, that PSR pressure could literally force their hand.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Homegrown Premium, Reading the Rulebook.
So you might be wondering, why exactly is his potential price tag floating around that monumental 70 million pound mark? Well, the answer lies in the Premier League and UEFA rulebooks, specifically the stringent requirements for homegrown players. This is a status Lewis Hall perfectly satisfies. To compete at the highest level, clubs are mandated to include a minimum number of locally trained players in their squads. For example, in the Premier League, out of a 25-man squad, you can have no more than 17 non-homegrown players. The rest absolutely must be homegrown.
Now, check out this data point. An incredible 56% of elite UEFA clubs actually face forced squad size reductions simply because they don't have enough locally trained players to meet the quota. Think about that. If you don't have the required 8 homegrown players, your total allowed squad size literally shrinks. It puts elite clubs at a massive competitive disadvantage before a ball is even kicked.
And the data reveals a desperate scarcity of this talent too. English top-flight teams rely on club-trained players for less than 13% of their domestic minutes. So not only do the rules demand you have these players just to fill out your squad, but the data clearly shows there's a massive systemic shortage of elite domestic talent capable of actually playing meaningful minutes at the highest level.
So, what's the crucial takeaway for us here? It means that a 21-year-old, Premier League-proven, homegrown English talent is going to command an exorbitant premium simply because of supply and demand dictated by the rules. You aren't just paying for Lewis Hall, the left-back, you're paying a massive premium for a vital puzzle piece that keeps your entire squad legally compliant and competitive in Europe. That is the unseen force driving this valuation all the way up to £70 million.
Finally, Section 5, a scout's long-term view, timing the market. This whole situation creates a very specific timeline of urgency, and timing is absolutely everything here. Right now, Newcastle is under that PSR financial pressure. But look ahead. Hall is in contention for the England squad. If he goes to the upcoming World Cup and performs well on the global stage, his value could instantly skyrocket by another 15 to 20 million pounds. Boom. Alternatively, what happens if Newcastle sells other star players first? If they offload an Isak or a Gordon, their PSR financial worries are instantly cleared. If that happens, their need to sell vanishes completely, and their stance of he is not for sale becomes an absolute reality. A scout would tell you to move decisively right now, before that World Cup tax is applied and before Newcastle's financial window of vulnerability closes. So, I'll leave you with this to ponder. Is securing a decade-long tactical solution actually worth the extreme financial premium dictated by today's regulations? We've seen the media spin, we've broken down his elite tactical fit, and we've exposed the hidden homegrown rulebook driving his price to the moon. Whether this transfer actually happens or not, it's a perfect case study in how modern football really works behind the scenes. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and I'll catch you next time.